Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to round 7 of the RaceFace.Pro, proudly sponsored by EG Evolved ACC GT3 Championship for our Pro and Pro-Am. And folks, we're in for an absolute banger of a race because tonight we race at Donington for round 7 of the championship, and it's looking to be an absolute wet race out there. Getting informed by our cameraman, likes of Tim, and we've got our head of the flags, Jim, out on mic. Donington, a difficult circuit that is going to challenge drivers to really find the top edge, leading out the field for the championship. In our pro side goes to Henry Mayer, along with Christoph Peterson in second place. 294 points for Henry Mayer, 248 for Christoph Peterson. Fleming Bauer sits on 209. Daniel De Villiers lies in fourth place on 195 points. Bego Krobler on 184. Gerrit Bucas sits with 147, along with Jason Amschwar on 124. Henry Platz on 119. And Neil Swartz, Jason Farmer going and fighting it out, 117 to 111 as they round out the pack for our pros. Looking at our Pro-Ams, we do have a very close battle going on for our positions. Rian van der Race sits on 220 points after fourth place in round 6. Reginald Muttolini sits on 202. Jared Bacum sits on 191. Keegan Bone on 182. Anton Lummers with 159, but he's not too far away. Likes of Johan Verveers looking to chase him down and will be battling out with 157 points. So still some very close for action in our Pro-Am field as they look to put the hammer down here tonight at a very wet Donington. Now, that being said, we take a look out to the circuit. The Team Wolf driver, Bego Krobler, first out on the circuit, trying to recover after last night. He landed up having a bit of contact against the hypercar, and he's trying to shake that off. He's got Jared Bacum, his own teammate, out in the Pro-Am. Also, second out on the track, Henk Peterson, Jason Farmer, Jeffrey LaRue, Anton Lummers, Benjamin Till going to be fighting out. We are getting informed, however, that Gerrit Bucas is running solo for the Stingers Racing here tonight and is really going to look to perform as he's wanting to put himself on the top. Bego Krobler puts in the first time of 134.3. Jason Farmer with a 134.6. Jared Bacum with 135.672. Immediately starting to drop down the order. Jason Farmer, Gerrit Bucas, Daniel De Villiers coming into the fray. Don't count out Daniel De Villiers, as he's one of our pro drivers that can take this Nissan GTR to the sharp end of the field and get ready for a fight. He's hoping that the wet conditions are going to play into his favor here tonight. Jared Bacum, along with Benjamin Till, Henny Porchita going and trying to put the hammer down for the Racing Snails. Anton Lummers holds 10th, drops down to 11th position for the Treehouse Works Racing, and will be going and focusing on the charge. So, if you are first joining us here, massive welcome to you all out there in the virtual grandstands. Welcome to the VIP grandstands of our EG Evolved and our sponsors all going and putting in those phenomenal roofings to make sure we don't get too wet on a very wet time here at Donington. And still, it is going to be a wild one. We've got Mordred Claessens, one of our drivers that used to race in the category, is now moving over to LMU, and he's out there going and enjoying Kiga Sorensen as well. This is going to be a bit of a wild one. So, red border means Pro-Am, white border means Pro, as we got the drivers going around. And leading out our Pro-Ams is Sean Loureiro at the moment for the Griffin Sim Racing team. Bego Krobler putting in the fastest lap time again with a 133.490 and continuing to power on at the moment. De Villiers for PWSR holds third place with a 133.8, trying to find 0.2 of a second to close the gap to Jason Farmer for the Griffin Sim Racing team. Gerrit Bucas in fourth place, mines off the circuit, as we got Henry Mayer putting the hammer down, a championship leader, hoping to make it work out in his favor. Christoph Peterson for Logistical Nightmare Racing out on circuit, trying to go and make sure he gets a win here tonight to try get a little bit ahead of Henry Mayer in the championship points. He does put in the fast lap time, however, and that is going to be the bugbear for the Pandacity team. Well, taking a look, we got 26 cars in the Pro and Pro-Am tonight, and that means, unfortunately, a couple of drivers aren't here. One of them is actually a previous driver, Abschmeyer, who's not in the building here tonight, unfortunately, so going to be caught out. Jan Fears going and chucking in after a stellar run last night. Going to say the Fears for a family double win across 2 nights. That is going to be the plan for them, and have been focusing on the charge. That's going to be the main plan for all the teams here tonight. Maximize the points, because this is the second last round of the season. There you go, Krobler, once again the fastest lap time. That Ferrari putting in the work, but Jason Farmer comes firing back with a 132.9. There you go, down into second. Henry Platt for the Omnis Gaming team holds 4th place as he tries to keep ahead of Fleming Bauer, Daniel De Villiers, Therapeutics, Johan Verveers, Henry Mayer, Sean Herrera rounding out the top 10. We cannot count out Jeffrey LaRue after having a great fight in LMU last night, finishing up in 3rd place. Continues his drive out with a 134.4 as his quickest lap time. He's hoping that he's going to make it work out in his favor. Reginald Mutaleni is running for the championship in the Pro-Am. He wants to make it work here. He needs to close up the gap in the points, and well, starting out in 8th place is one way to kick it off. Rem for the race, who leads out the championship. The Kramadulas Racing team continues on the charge and looking to try again the toe of the PWSR Lamborghini of Darren Miller just ahead. Unfortunately, he pulls off Darren Miller in 11th position, looking to try and carve out some of the time. You can see the understeer starting to come in as the cars start to aquaplane, especially on the braking. Nose dips down, runs into a bit of trouble. They have to pull it through to get to the end. Anton Lummers, teammate to Conrad Martin, is sitting behind Conrad. And Conrad, after swapping from one McLaren to another, raced on Monza last night, now going and racing in the McLaren here at Donington. Quite a flight across the pond to go and have some fun from LMU to ACC here at RaceFace.Pro. But it is Henry Mayer puts in the fastest lap time for the Pandacity machine, 132.790. Jason Farmer's 132.9, unable to hold it. Fleming Bauer trying to jump up through the order, currently lying in 8th position. This is going to be a bit of a rough start for him, and it's going to be the first time that he's not near his teammate. Round for the race, Reginald Mutaleni and Verveers continue to hold the Pro-Am side of things at the moment, and still looking to push a little bit more in the battle. Christoph Peterson starting off with his flying lap again, as we do see Henry Platt coming out of pit lane. So, let's take a look through the field, because Benjamin Tilt currently is 1.4 seconds up on his time. He's got one more corner to go. Currently lying in 23rd, doing a 1:35.7 as his best lap time. Hoping to make it work out a little bit better as he exits the corner. 1.5 seconds. And across the line. Is this going to be enough to get him in the top 15? It does! Benjamin Till into the top 15. And will smile big time on that one. Still sporting the Team Wolf colours on his car. Henry Mayer now going a little bit quicker than all the cars thus far. 132.7 to beat. Possibly going to be able to do it to put more of a gap on Jason Farmers and Daniel De Villiers as he battles his way through. Flat taps across the line. Is it going to be a best lap? And it is a 132.6. Jason Farmer will have to really dig deep to fire back at him. Henry Mayer loses that little bit of time into turn 1, but Daniel De Villiers with a 132.9. The PWSR machine continues to stay in the fight. Christoph Peterson, who's second in the championship, now starting to scratch his head on what he needs to do to make it work out in his favor to get close to this Nissan GTR ahead of him, as Daniel De Villiers is fighting out for Fleming Bauer in the points. Fleming Bauer on 209 points and Daniel De Villiers on 195 points. A second place or higher tonight can put him into the podium spot and take the championship right into the last. Darren Miller coming out pit lane along with Jeff LaRue as they mind out of the way for the drivers, just to give them a little bit of breathing room out there, open up some gap before they get going. Benjamin Till slow out of the final corner, lost 0.4 of a second as he does come across the line. He is able to boot himself up into 14th position. Anton Lummers down in 21st, jumps over the curb, really trying to throw the McLaren. 0.3 up on his lap time. Oh, bit of the rear getting kicked out there, lost a bit of time. Henry Mayer currently 0.2 up on his time, with Jason Farmer down 0.2 on his best. Henry Mayer's going to put in a fast lap time here, 0.4 up, and it's a 132.2 flat for Henry Mayer. He's going to be quite happy with that one, but Christoph Peterson holds second place currently, and that is going to be a fight for the ages. Daniel De Villiers, Jason Farmer, Bego Krubler, Henry Platt. But let's talk about our Pro-Ams in the top 10. Sean Larrera, Rem van der Race are sitting in the top 10, along with Reginald Mutileni holding the final spot of that top 10, and unfortunately gets pipped out by the likes of Fleming Bauer. So Reginald Mutileni trying to dig that little bit deep at the moment, has invalidated his time, but he's going to have another lap to try and improve. Jeffrey LaRue currently 0.4 up on his lap time. Kurt Bukes currently 0.1 up on his lap time, as they all try and find any little bit of grip out here at Donington. A very, very tricky circuit. Pit exit comes out into the racing line into turn 1. You've got to snap to the left quite a bit when you're going into pit lane during the course of this race, and that is going to play a bit of havoc for drivers to really find that ragged edge and mind safety, especially in these conditions where it's absolutely needed to keep your head on your shoulders. You need to feed the throttle in and not stomp the brake, otherwise you're going to slide. You can't make aggressive turns, you can't really dig to try and just throw cars in. Unfortunately, as we do end up seeing a number of drivers falling off into the weeds. Daniel De Villiers 0.2 up on his lap time, going for second place here, and he does come across the line. Unfortunately, not able to get into second, gets 132.7, which is better than his previous. Christoph Peterson 0.1 up, but he needs to shave 0.4 to 0.5 of a second to go and close the gap to Henry Mayer and get round him. So Christoph Peterson is in a world of hurt right now to try get pole position into T1. Otherwise, he's going to be starting on the disadvantage. He's going to be on the outside into turn 1, and that gives Henry Mayer a bit of success to hold. 32.6 for Christoph Peterson. Henry Mayer holds that top spot for now. Daniel De Villiers and Jason Farmer currently sitting on the second row with one another as they try to just find any bit of pace to close the gap to our leader. Therapeutics comes across the line, 0.3 up on his time, puts himself into 6th place ahead of Henry Platt in the Omnis Gaming Mustang as he continues on the charge. Lorero for Fierce, Van der Race, Mutileni all the top 4 for our Pro-Am. Jonathan Christmas, Benjamin Till, Conrad Martin, Jaron McComb, Jackie Albert, Henry Porchita, Anton Lummers, Lucan Haynes, and Ulrich de Jager continue to try and find that little bit of gap to close that space between the Pro-Ams as Tennis Buerta, and along with Darren Miller, currently act as a bit of a buffer between them. Darren Miller in 14th position continues on the drive, trying to figure out what is going to work out in his favor here as he tries to dig a little bit deep. It's been a bit of a rough season for Mr. Miller here, but Thriller Miller has not given up the run, continues on to push, and does get a big support from the likes of Alan Patterson, team owner, who has been keeping a very close eye on De Villiers and Miller to ensure they work out. Henry Mayer off into the dirt, loses a little bit of time. We do see the McLaren starting to battle as Christoph Peterson also not able to improve through the sectors. Conrad Martin is the only driver thus far on the lap that has gone up in his personal best by 0.1 of a second as time runs out. And we're going to be looking at a very, very close fight with our Pro-Ams. Unfortunately, a little less on the pro side towards the end of the season. That's not like what we want to see, but it means it's valuable points for drivers to really get up into the championship. There's no drop rounds here, folks. It's straight out and out racing. Darren Miller comes across the line. He gets 15th position. Henry Platt across the line, and he will have to hold 7th position. As time has ticked over, there is no more to go. Bego Krobler will come across the line, unable to improve on his time, and will have to settle for that 5th place with Jason Farmer going to be right next to him. Jason Farmer practicing pit entry during the time, which is absolutely crucial to know how fast you can take that final corner to keep it going. Run for the race, leader of the Pro-Ams in the championship, now sitting 3rd in the Pro-Ams for the start. We'll have Reginald Mutalini in the championship fight right next door to him. Sean Larrera for Fierce holding 1st and 2nd of the Pro-Ams in qualifying. So we're in for the race, last of our drivers to get across the line, and will be looking to fight his way. So, drivers ready to have some fun out here and to really move forward. But that being said, it's nearly the end of an absolute incredible special that you want to get your hands on. When you start sim racing, it's all about getting a good, sturdy base to kick it off. Anything with a bit of wobble, that ends up throwing you out on your pedals. It lands up throwing you out on your steering. But EG Evolved has got you covered. 10% off EGR sim rigs. Use the code SPRING10 for that special offer. It is only available till the 30th of September. So it ends 30th September. That will be it. So if you haven't got your base now, you haven't got that T-solid aluminium that's highly customizable and can be powder coated with a choice to either have the screen bolted onto the rig itself or a freestanding frame, it's up to you. T-solid aluminium, all pros in South Africa and around the world are using it to make sure that they get from A to B in all their sim racing needs. And EG has got you covered. Let's head down to the circuit as our drivers line up for round 7. Remember, Henry Mayer, Christoph Peterson, the championship fight lines up on the front row. For our Pro-Am, Sean Larrera and for Fierce will stare each other down. Daniel De Villiers and Jason Farmer, 2 friends, now foes. 3rd and 4th will look to battle it out. Donington, incredibly hard circuit, and drivers are going to be pushed to the limit here tonight. 1 hour and 20 minutes of pure racing in the rain. Means that they don't have to change tires unless they are being too heavily used. Not gonna see majority of cars here tonight will not be swapping tires. They'll be focusing on fueling. And with 2 mandatory pit stops needed, they will have to do it from green flag and before the checkered to get their pit stops out of the way. Short fuel and then go for a longer fuel to make sure they carry through to the end. This also comes down to pure planning. We're going to see a number of drivers looking at maybe the 45-minute mark as they go ahead to ensure that they stay at the top. However, that can land up as a big, big problem for a lot of drivers who need to figure out what is the game plan here. What do they need to do to really stand on top of the crowd, and how are they going to make it work? I mean, these are always fundamental points that drivers are considering in a race like this, as you don't want to be caught napping at the line. You don't want to be caught napping at all, especially in this race. Donington has gone and made and breaked a lot of championships. With that being said, folks, we're starting to get underway. Drivers starting to make their way around the circuit. And for round 7 for our Pro and Pro-Ams, we are going to be taking a look at the EG Evolve GT3 Championship Pro and Pro-Am. Henry Mayer and Christoph Peterson will start out on the front row. Daniel De Villiers, Jason Farmer, Bego Krobler, Kurt Bucas, along with Henry Platt, Jeffrey LaRue, Sean Larrera, and Johan Verveers round out the top 10. Then for the race, along with Reginald Mutalini, Keegan Bowen, Tiernas Buerta, Darren Miller, Jonathan Christoph, Benjamin Till, Conrad Martin, Jared Bekung, along with Jackie Alberts, rounds out the top 20. Henry Porchita, along with Anton Lomas, Lucan Haynes, Ulrich Diaga, and Henk Peterson round out our top 5 cars ready for the racing. We had 26, it looks like we lost one, but it is still going to be a race and a half for championship points and bragging rights to say they're going to be coming home the season 23 champion here at RaceFace.Pro, and especially for the inaugural season of the EG Evolved GT3 Championship. I mean, this is all what's on the line here, folks. From Pandacity to Logistical Nightmare Racing, PWSR, Griffin Sim Racing, Wolf. There is so many teams out here supporting from the grandstands. We take a look out to Kika Sanderson along with the Mordred Claessens, Sean Berg, Derek Bakum supporting his son, along with Antonio Gamble going and cheering it always. Costa Panadas going and saying, how's it? Along with Arjun Belder. Good to see you guys out there in the virtual grandstands, and I hope you are ready for a race and a half, because, man, oh man, we are in for a treat as Henry Mayer, Christoph Peterson, round the second last corner. They're going to slow the pace down, 70 kilometers an hour, and get ready to rock and roll, folks, as we get underway shortly. Cold brakes, cold tires, wet conditions. Turn 1 is going to be treacherous. The advantage for Henry Mayer. Christoph Peterson will have to swing around the outside to try and hold place as it's lights on, lights on, lights on. And we wait for the green for round 7 of the RaceFace.Pro, the EG Evolved GT3 Championship. And away they go racing. Charging down towards turn 1. Henry Mayer holds the inside line. Christoph Peterson snaps around the outside. The Honda just able to stay in the fight as Henry Mayer battles for grip. And Daniel De Villiers gets the slip underneath Christoph Peterson, who slides yet again. Bago Krubler all over the back of him as De Villiers puts the hammer down. Down the field we go, and it's all looking clean. Bago Krubler, Jason Farmer, Henry Bucas, along with Henry Platt, Jeffrey LaRue, Sean Lorero, all making the way around. Jackie Alberts had a little bit of contact with Jared Bakum, but it's all clean sailing through turn 1. Not a single car going and flying off the circuit as Daniel De Villiers under pressure from Christoph Peterson. He has the rear step on him, tries to bring the car back, loses out a little bit of time, but just saves it as Henry Mayer starts to leg it away from the field. Peterson knows that this cannot happen. He needs to try and get past as soon as possible. Baker Krobler, Jason Farmer, and Bukes continue on their charge. Sean Lorero holding the Pro-Am position up against LaRue, but can feel Rio in front of the race, closing onto the back of him. Jackie Alberts gets ahead of Conrad Martin as a swap out for 17th, 18th. Take a look. Jared Bakum looks on the inside. He's going to try and do it yet again. Conrad Martin goes for a defensive late break. He's able to carry that momentum and move forward as drivers continue on their charge. Johan Fierce down in 11th position continues to try and hold Reginald Mutaleni at bay. Jason Farmer, Henry Platt into pit lane. Reginald Mutaleni dives to pit. So we've seen those early stops starting to happen here, and a number of drivers getting into pit lane. They want to get themselves sorted out, get the first stop out of the way, and push on for a much later stop in the race. Benjamin Till along with Jonathan Crisson continue to charge with one another, and Jonathan Crisson not backing out, wants to take this Lamborghini to the top as he keeps on the back of Benjamin Till, slightly ahead of him. So drivers that went through pit lane: Henry Platt, Jason Farmer, Richard Mutaleni, Jared Bakum, Anton Lammers, Ulrich Diaga, Luca Haynes, and Henk Peterson all went through the pit lane, and now there's Ulrich Diaga with a stop-go 30-second penalty, unfortunately, for speeding in pit lane. Not able to slow the car down just enough, and that has gone and taken him out of some major running, and we'll need to serve it. As we do see Jackie Alberts keeping the pressure on Jonathan Crisson along with Benjamin Till just ahead. It's a pack battle for our Pro-Am field at current, and it does look like Jonathan is getting a little bit worried to see Jackie sitting in his mirrors. He wants to try and pull away, dives to the inside, and looks to try go side by side as they make their way towards the right-hander. Both Lamborghinis are going to go for it. Jackie Alberts around the outside, going to try and sweep across. Not going to work out as he loses out Jonathan Crisson, who puts the hammer down and tried to fight back with Benjamin Till. 0.2 of a second separating both drivers. Great racing indeed thus far. Sean Loureiro and Jeffrey LaRue continue to keep the battle on with one another. Let's take a look at some of the carnage that didn't play too much into effect. And as saying that, we land up with a little bit of knocks. The 676 car, Henry Porchita and Conrad Martin have a bit of a coming together. So this is Henry Porchita as we keep on board with it. Take a look at him. He's trying to go a little bit tighter. Conrad Martin slows the car down, trying to get into pit lane. And Henry Porchita, expecting him to be a little bit quicker, went into the back. So that's a bit of nose damage to his car that he has to keep in mind. And Conrad Martin having a little bit of damage on his car, just trying to slow it down to get into pit lane, get that first stop out of the way, and get going yet again. Jonathan Crisser, Jackie Alberts continue to keep the pressure on one another. Henry Mayer, Daniel De Villiers, Christoph Peterson, Vego Krobler, and Kurt Bukes currently hold the top 5, but it is Christoph Peterson 3 seconds off the back of Daniel De Villiers, who's right on top of Henry Mayer at the moment. The assistant GCR is not giving up just as yet. So De Villiers focusing on the charge, but that spray starting to be a little bit of a problem as we're going to take a look on board, and you can just see how much of the spray takes away the visibility as you in the car, as Henry Mayer trying to pull away from De Villiers. This is where it's a lot of muscle memory. Look at where the circuit is out of your side windows to try and get an understanding of where the brake mark is on. That is costing him a fair amount of time. As you go to Henry Mayer, well, it's clear sailing for him as he doesn't have to worry about that for now. Who knows, come later in the race. But Daniel De Villiers did set the fast lap time of the race on that last lap, a 132.7, while the likes of Henry Mayer, 133.057. So he's losing that little bit of time. And so he realized, hold on, I've got a problem here. Sean Loureiro getting a bit of a tank slap on the way out, and does have room for the race, coming out and looking to try and get a little bit closer. As taking a look over to our virtual grandstand, Jacques Ever going and shouting out from the Rhino Utility, one of our sponsors here at RaceFace.Pro, and is sponsoring the stream going out for the gold and silvers at the same time. It's good to have him out there, and thank you very much. Oh, Darren Miller having the rear step out on the Lamborghini, does save it, rejoins the circuit, but miles down the order, not exactly where he wants to be. Tough race for every single one of the drivers to really focus on the charge here and trying to figure out what is going to be the main drive. I mean, this is just a tough run. I can't believe that we have had no serious incidents off the start of the race on one of the hardest conditions that the drivers have faced all season, with some very tight racing. Daniel De Villiers, Henry Porchita continue on, and just saying that, Jonathan Crisler getting turned round and now just trying to get himself going. Just had to refire the car and hope that he didn't bottom out on the curb. Does get it going yet again, but miles down from where he wanted to be. Unfortunately, that is going to be a bit of an impact in his race. Daniel De Villiers keeps on the back of Henry Mayer. This is a fight for our top of our pros. Sean Loureiro gets on the inside of Jeffrey LaRue as he's leading out the Pro-Ams, but he does not want to be compromised in pace. Jeffrey LaRue looking to try and hold that 6th spot and not get drawn into a fight, has given Rian van der Race enough time to close up the gap, as we do see the likes of Johan Fierce sliding out a little bit in the background as he tries to close up to first and second of our Pro-Am field. Loureiro going and battling, looks for the inside, had to back out of it and just trying to get any bit of momentum to work out in his favor. Christoph Peterson losing a lot of time to Daniel De Villiers, and now needing to really figure out what's game plan here, because he's got Vego Krobler for a bit of company. Christoph Peterson is falling miles off the back here. This is not an ideal situation for him, especially for the championship at the moment. LaRue holding Loureiro back has just created enough of a problem for him as Rian van der Race continues to keep the pressure on the back and focusing on the charge at current. Let's take a look at what happened to Jonathan Crisser, that 996 Lamborghini. as he was all over the back of the racing snails. He did have Darren Miller behind him. Oh, just brake too late. A little clip on the rear of the Mustang and just battled to slow the car down. And Darren Miller with a beautiful pirouette as well as he tried to make his way around. He had a tough time there. Oh, big problem. Larrera off circuit, right from the race. Off into the weeds as well as Jeffrey LaRue holds him back. I mean, this is trying everything to make it work out in his favor. Henry Platt, Jason Farmer continue their fight. Now, Jason Farmer was part of those earlier pit stops along with Henry Platt. And now these two are going to be finding out for a little bit longer. Jason Farmer tried around the outside, really up against curb, but the Mustang having the power to really get going and keeps it all together. Dives for the inside line, not going to work out in his favor there. We'll have to wait yet again for another opportunity to show itself. We've gone past 9 minutes, heading towards 10 minutes of this race. We've seen quite a few different changes during the course of it. One of it being our Pro-Am lead as we run for the race has opened up the gap to Sean Larrero, who holds second place and is a bit closer to Jan Verveers and looking to try stretch that gap on, try and figure out what is the game plan here to move forward in this race, to stand on top of everyone and to make it work out in their favor. We do get a slow car of Henry Platt, unfortunately number 9 having a bit of contact by the looks of it with Jason Farmer. Heading towards the final corner, sweeps across Jason Farmer, a little bit skittish on the braking, trying to slow the car. Sorry, this isn't the final corner, it's chicane. Jason Farmer had to run out the corner. Henry Platt tried to close the gap, and unfortunately that landed up with a bit of contact between them. That, unfortunately, is that. I mean, let's try and take a look from the helmet cam. This is Jason Farmer's view heading into the chicane. Looked third gear, slowed the car up, got the run on the Mustang, went for the outside, and unfortunately the gap started closing a little bit too much there. Henry Platt getting caught out into the grass. He lost a bit of time, but it hasn't taken him out of the race. He's in 18th position with still some time to make up. Sean Larrera onto the back of Rhino from the race as they fight out for the lead of the Pro-Ams, and they will continue this battle a little bit further. Both drivers haven't done their first pit stop, and Reggio Mutalini has, along with Jared Bakum, Anton Lummers, Luca Nance, and Conrad Martin. That's going to be sitting on the radios, talking about where they are in the field and where can they get that little bit more of a drive, trying to move forward in this race and not lose out to other championship points. This is always a to and fro for drivers to figure out what is the game plan around the circuit, and because the nature of the circuit doesn't lean to some really good passing, and also with the conditions, you don't want to be going for major passes. You want to keep applying that pressure to the drivers and ensure that they make small little errors in the outbraking themselves, turning in a little bit late, aquaplane, hitting the brakes a little bit too hard, and just running into general issues during the course of the race to move up through the order. And that is going to be a long-term strategy game here. However, the Nissan GTR Daniel de Villiers has been showing promising pace at the moment. Being the fastest lap time of the race, he's been keeping into the 32s, low 33s, matching Henry Mayer on his run as we keep an eye on the likes of Run for the Race. All over the back of Jeffrey LaRue. Darren Miller out into the weeds again, trying to rejoin and just get that Lamborghini in check. Down into 15th position. Lose out to Pojita, Till, and Berta after that little mistake. Unfortunately, the Lamborghini just not working out in his favor this time round, and has been a tough run for the likes of Darren Miller's Lamborghini drives. It's been a difficult season. Oh, just clipped the asphalt, and unfortunately a little bit of aero damage to his nose as well as he spun round into the weeds. Bit of a problem for Henk Peters as this has been turning into a nightmare race. He's out into the weeds trying to get himself going and rejoins the circuit down in 24th position. Van der Race and Larrero buffeting one another into turn 1. This is always a tough time as Larrero tries to go underneath Van der Race. It is still nose to tail. The McLaren just egging it out ahead of the Ferrari and will continue to open a little bit more breathing room. Jeffrey LaRue going to be smiling ear to ear. He's got a little bit to play and a little bit to go. So Fun Race and Lorero, who were door to door fighting out for first of the Pro-Am field, will hope to really make it claw and work a bit better. Daniel de Villiers under braking, gets right underneath the rear wing of Henry Mayer and continues to try and figure out what can he do. He makes it up under braking, but just can't make the pass happen. Henry Mayer holding a solid defense. I have to say, Daniel de Villiers already a 6-second gap to Christoph Peterson, and that is throwing him even further down the order. For de Villiers, this is all to play for in the points for the likes of Christoph Peterson. He needs a win here tonight to carry the championship fight over to the final race next week. Round 8, the last of the last, and that is what Christoph Peterson needs to make work, as we have Jonathan Christ and Darren Miller side by side, both Lamborghinis pushing as hard as they can, and a little bit of contact with them. Jason Farmer starting to close up the distance, and we'll be seeing this fight, hoping not to be caught up in it. We'll want to try and dispatch Darren Miller and Jonathan Christ as quick as possible, or utilize the tow, as Miller late on the brakes, still with that aero damage to the front of his car, continues on the battle with Jonathan Christ. A couple of seconds is needed in the pits, but a couple of seconds is too many to have in this race. Jonathan Christ, who is a Pro-Am driver, is in the fight for an overall position into that top 15. Tennis Puerta is Darren Miller's next attack point, with Jason Farmer as a very, very viable threat at the moment. Ran for the race right onto the back of Jeffrey LaRue, looks towards the inside line and couldn't have it happen late under the brakes, as we do see the Trailblazers team going and trying to make up a bit of time, but also the Griffin Sim Racing team has a bit of a problem as they're landing up into the dirt. Daniel de Villiers hunted down that inside line, couldn't get the pass done. Johan Verveers having a bit of contact with the likes of Jackie Albert and Keegan Bowen, both running off. Keegan and Johan fall off the circuit. That was a proper whoops moment for the drivers. The 48 landing up in a bit of a problem with the 96, and let's quickly take a look at it. He does see the Griffin Sim Racing team go off. He does land up off into the dirt himself. Keegan comes on by, a little bit on the gas, trying to hold his line, and take a look at, Jackie Albert's very, very risky. Tried to put himself in the middle, and well done to the likes of Keegan and Johan for keeping the cars pointing straight, and also Jackie Albert's coming off the throttle when he saw, hold on, this is not going to work out nicely, and I've suddenly got McLaren and a Ferrari looking a little bit sideways on me. Rather wait it out as Johan Verveers gets a jump on Keegan Bowen, who drops down into 10th position. Fighting out for the top spot in the pros and top spot overall, Daniel de Villiers up against Henry Mayer, looking to try and get the pass yet again around the outside. Henry Mayer late on the brakes. McLaren just having enough run, does land up in the dirt a little bit, and here comes Daniel de Villiers, applied enough pressure to make Henry Mayer have a mistake under braking. Henry Mayer tried to turn in, and de Villiers late on the brakes gets it done, and they fight it yet again. Both drivers are not going to back down, but it is de Villiers who gets a run on Mayer. Mayer goes for the inside line, can't carry the momentum through too easily. A second contact as they get on the drive. A quick flash of lights from de Villiers saying, hey, listen, that one did hurt a little bit. Got to be careful on doing it. Mayer trying to open up the gap yet again. Goes in a little too deep under braking. So does de Villiers as they continue on the drive. That little bit of pressure coming into play. Keegan Bowen with Jackie Alberts now taking a look on the inside line. The Mustang going to try and stand on the gas on the McLaren, and Keegan slows down the car. Couldn't quite get it to rotate underneath him as much as he wanted. Tucks right in behind the likes of Jackie. Looks for the inside, backs out of it. Thought about the pass, couldn't make it stick. Would rather wait that little bit more for our Pro-Ams. And what a fight it is, as currently both are fighting for 4th and 5th of the Pro-Ams at current, and wanting to keep away from the likes of Reginald Mutilini, who has already done his first stop, along with Jared McComb, Anton Lammers, Lucan Haynes, and Conrad Martin. But here comes de Villiers back towards the inside line, in through the chicane. Made the pass work last lap. However, not getting the run this time. Will have to wait a little bit longer as he tries to brake as late as possible into the hairpin. You can see visibility is absolutely terrible sitting behind Henry Mayer. That Pandassi machine having the advantage of being able to see. Jason Farmer gone through pit lane again, along with Ulrich de Jager. An interesting take here. De Jager has done 2 stops, but only 1 counted due to his positioning in the box, and unfortunately for the Griffin Sim Racing team, purple BMW, unfortunately not working out. But Jason Farmer, a very keen one to keep an eye out, has completed all these pit stops. Benjamin Till into the dirt as Tennis Buerta gains a position and continues on the drive. Jonathan Chrysler going to be making up a little bit of time here as well. So some keen moves being made by some of the drivers trying to think, what can they do? Oh, De Villiers getting a snap oversteer, losing a little bit of time there and lost a huge amount, 3 seconds. Let's take a look at this as we go back 30 seconds in the race. De Villiers trying to get the drive. Where did the Nissan lose out its momentum? Where did he hit the dirt that didn't work out in his favor? He tried going in a little too quick. Snapped the rear out. He's able to save it, but that has just cost him so much time and now brought a certain little Honda into contention. Christoph Peterson in for the attack now and is 0.5 of a second onto the back of De Villiers. So in the first 20 minutes of this race, we've seen a complete run of our pit stops with Jason Farmer. That, to me, is a very interesting play because now it's a flat-out race for the next hour. Does he feel he's got enough power, enough in the tank to be able to run that full hour? Keegan Bowen, along with Henny Porchita, going and finding out with, unfortunately, Keegan dropping down yet another position. Not having the easy time out there in the Red Bull colors. The Ravenous Motorsport 10 just not having the run. Darren Miller coming out of pit lane, had a bit of repair work. He does, however, give a bit of space for Beggar Krobler to get on by. He does come out just ahead of Gerrit Bucas as he will be receiving the blue flag for the likes of Gerrit Bucas, the last of the stingers out on the circuit here tonight, and will be wanting to close up the gap to Beggar Krobler. Rear for the race, all over the back of Jeffrey LaRue. Continues to fight it out, hoping to make it work out in his favor here at the moment as we continue on this live coverage of the RaceFace.Pro EG Evolved GT3 Championship Season 23, as we have got some great discounts on EG Evolved products out there that can keep you going, along with all our amazing sponsors keeping us running throughout the season. Rem from the race and Jeffrey LaRue continue on their drive to push just a little bit harder to try and figure out what do they need to do to make it work. LaRue holding 6th place overall, 6th in the pros, has got first to the Pro-Am. Ryan from the race on the back of him, championship leader over here that is looking to score major points and looking for a solid win tonight to possibly clinch the championship away from Rachel Mutaleni and from Jared Bakum. He's on 220 points, so victory here tonight is going to be great for him. Rachel Mutaleni sits on 202. Hasn't had the easiest of runs during the course of the season, along with Jared Bakum, who has 1 non-start but still holds third place. Keegan Bowen, Anton Lamassion for Fears sit in 6th, 5th and 6th, along with Sean Larrea, Conrad Martin, Herman Whitner as well. So, I mean, these are drivers that are trying to figure out what can they do. For the likes of Daniel De Villiers, who is in 4th place, 2nd place here tonight, ahead of Fleming Bauer, who is his main target, will be the run. And then speaking about Fleming Bauer as a driver to keep ahead of, just looking through the field, and I am not seeing Bauer's name. And I think he's one of the drivers that unfortunately got dropped out. So we have lost Fleming Bauer, which would be a negative run for his championship and might be a big problem for that 3rd place. Not an easy time for him. And what a run for the Pandassi team that took a 1st and 2nd last season. Now suddenly not having that on the cards for them anymore. Jeffrey LaRue, Rian van der Race, trying to battle it out with Van der Race and Jeffrey LaRue still fighting to battle their way through. LaRue a little bit slower out of the corner. Did have a slight nudge from Rian, who looked to try and get past. He had a lot of drive on him. However, didn't work out in his run. So we are getting reports down in the pits as we do take a look at Luke and Haynes with a fall off track. Jackie Alberts with a drive-through penalty. And that, unfortunately, is going to bring him right down. That's going to be 3 times through the pits during the course of this race. But we are getting reports from the young man who has gone into LMU and might possibly be in for a first podium last night for their 3rd place. Mordrake Claassens, part of the Pandassi team, saying, unfortunately, Fleming Bauer out due to connection issues. So some mechanical failure coming into play and might be the reason he falls out of the championship running and gives the likes of Daniel de Villiers a chance for 3rd place. It's going to all come down to the final race for 3rd, because Daniel de Villiers is going to be on the score here. He's going to be happy with his points, and whether he finishes 2nd, 1st, or 3rd, it is enough to jump him just ahead of Fleming Bauer and continue the hopes for PWSR, locking in yet another trophy for their cabinet. And I've got to say, that is one team that has stacked the amount of wins here in RaceFace.Pro quite a few times. Pandacity has been around a little bit, not as long as PWSR, along with OG Racing, the Omnius Gaming team, Racing Sales, Stingers. They all reasonably newer to the likes of RaceFace compared to the likes of PWSR, but it's still phenomenal to see them in action. Around for the race, trying to go on the inside of Jeffrey LaRue, gets it done. Sean Loureiro tries to capitalize on the moment as well. He goes and keeps it to the toe. Loureiro hopes to try and go around the outside. LaRue, defensive inside line, sweeps in, keeps the drive, and will hold that 7th position, and now looks to feed the pressure onto Rian van der Race. Loureiro hopes to try and get past as quick as possible, because now he is losing time, crucial time for the likes of 1st place. He does look for the inside line on LaRue, does get it done. The dash roof car going and minding out of the way. Jeffrey LaRue just not able to get the car to bite up the way he wants. Jason Farmer gets a pass on Conrad Martin as he moves up to 20, and Conrad Martin in 21st, both going and battling out. Conrad Martin having a little less time practicing on Assetto Corsa Competizione as he focuses a lot of time onto Le Mans Ultimate, and he has been putting in a great fight out there. The practice has been showing, but here at Donington in these wet conditions does also create a negative impact on him as he's trying to focus on his race in the Pro-Ams, and he's needing to catch up to the likes of Reginald Montalini, Jared Bakum, and Anton Lummers, who will be continuing the fight. Henk Petersen into pit lane, retires the car. Plus, we do have a full retirement as well. Our 25th position gone and out of the race. Sean Loureiro up against the inside of Rian van der Race, trying to get the drive. Really puts the hammer down. Is this going to work out? It's a drag race heading into the final corner. McLaren versus Ferrari. It is going to be McLaren holding the advantage on the inside line. Sean Loureiro trying to utilize that V6 turbocharged torque to really pull him through, and still hangs on as they both drag it down into turn 1. Loureiro gets ahead, but only just of Van der Race. Christoph Petersen closes up the gap to Daniel de Villiers. So some tough racing out there for the drivers, and Christoph Petersen closed up quite a bit. Let's take a look at what happened. Did Daniel de Villiers have a crucial mistake yet again? Same corner. Goes and puts a wheel slightly out and just gets that tank slapper. He's able to save it, but Christoph Petersen comes back at him, snatches around the outside, lands in the dirt, backs off, and loses that little bit of drive on the Nissan GTR. 7 seconds now goes and separates 1st and 2nd place between our pros. We are getting further reports though. Porchita and Tiernas Puerto, who visited off circuit, lose out a little bit of time. Ulrich de Jager continues on his drive. The BMW continues to focus on. I've got to say, well done to Ulrich de Jager. He hasn't had the easiest of drives this race. He's been through the pits twice thus far, but still needs to complete one more pit stop because The second one didn't count. And he is continuing to focus on what he needs to do to get it to the end. The no give up. Once you see green, you gotta see checkered motto. Lives in the head there, and honestly earns the respect of those in the grandstand and here in the commentary box. Graham for the race and Sean Lorera, however, are not worrying about that one. They are wanting to fight it out even further. 51 minutes of the race to go here at Donington. 28 minutes completed. 15 degrees track temperature and air temperature out there. It's a brisk night, and it is going to be a hard one for the drivers to compete with. It is gonna be running in a little bit into darker stages, so expect these headlights to get brighter and brighter here at Donington, and looking to try and push that little bit more. So as drivers coming off the back of South Africa's Heritage Day here in South Africa, and we've also got the likes of our international competition, Christoph Peterson, all the way out from Germany, continuing to fight it out against South Africans. He's wanting to claim a top spot. He wants that podium, but he needs to get first place to be able to carry the fight into round 8, and that is where the trick comes in, as he is unfortunately lying in third behind Daniel de Villiers, who will be wanting second place to move himself into third in the championship and carry the championship fight into the final round. It is just a fight up and down through the order. Everyone trying to throw hammer and tongs at one another to make it work, to find just that little bit more room. Sean Lorera breaks away from Rian van der Race. 1.8 seconds between them. Jeffrey LaRue sits in 8th place. Has got the likes of Johan Verveers, who currently holds third of the Pro-Ams and will be wanting to hold that. Keegan Moore down in 4th. Henry Porchita down in 5th for the Pro-Am. But our pros is Henry Mayer, Daniel de Villiers, Christoph Peterson, Beggar Krobler, Kurt Bukes, who hold the top 5 and will be continuing their chase. Now, we did talk about possibility of 45 minutes, the halfway mark in this race. We will see cars come in. Well, we're about to see it. 49 minutes after this race, we have still got a multitude of cars out there that need to do their first stop. But it is going to bring into question, because those that have completed their first stop, how far are they going to climb? And for the solo drive of a car that's now moved up to 19th position, Jason Farmer of the Griffin Sim Racing team has took the gamble to go and pit both times early on, lies in 19th, and is hoping that he has a good run all the way through. Now, last lap time was his best with a 133.9. That is off the pace of our front 3, but still has an opportunity in the bag to try and close that gap, depending on the run that Henry Mayer, Daniel de Villiers, and Christoph Peterson have during the course of this race. It will dictate the pace. Now, we've also got to remember Jason Farmer is in for a fight for the championship as well. A little bit further down, however, he's been out of racing for a little bit, last little while, with a non-finish in round 5, a non-finish in round 6. He's hoping to get some points here tonight, as he's holding 111 points in the top 10. He needs to beat out Neil Swartz, Henry Platt, Jason Abschweif, Kurt Bukes, along with Bego Krobler, as they are the targets for him on the way at the moment. We do keep an eye out on our leader, 20 laps in and not missing a stride as he focuses on the momentum. Rian van der Race and Benjamin Till dive into pit lane, and this is what we've been keeping an eye on. Our Pro-Ams, as Reginald Mutaleni will be smiling. He moves up into 14th position, did do an earlier stop, but now has an opportunity to go and fight it out for the top running order, and will be digging deep on this one. It will be his first Pro-Am Championship run, as we do see stop-go 30-second. This is huge. Rian van der Race gets a stop-go 30-second for speeding in pit lane. The leader of the championship has now cost himself some time and has officially thrown himself out of the top 3. This means he will not be maximizing the points. He will be falling down, and unfortunately for him, in the second last race of the season, he has just given Reginald Mutaleni the win to move up. Rian van der Race, who sits on 220 points, has handed Reginald Mutelani those points, who's on 202, plus Jared Bakum. He has lost out majorly here, and this has cost him quite possibly the championship. Reginald Mutelani fights it out with Jackie Alberts, but he's going to be going nuts there. And I'm sure there is someone out there in the grandstands that will be going onto his stream, will be going onto his radio saying, listen, bud, hammer down, go, 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 maximize those positions because you have the option to go for the championship. It's not out of the works yet. Benjamin Till continues on his drive. Been having a little bit of a nightmare of a run. He's down in 22nd position and still trying to figure out. Tennis Putter, Jackie Alberts dive into pit lane. Benjamin Till a little bit slow through the corners, and he is very, very slow. Uh-oh, I've got a funny feeling, and I want to take a look. Fourth. Slow. Feathering. Oh, I know what's gone on with Benjamin Till. And man, oh man, I wonder if the Team Wolf are going to be in trouble here. They pulled a Ferrari stunt in the rain. Benjamin Till is out there on slicks. He's not on wets. He is on slicks. That is why he is so slow right now, and he is feathering off the throttle. This is a problem, and Team Wolf will be in some serious hot water because they've just sent their driver out after doing his first stop out on slicks, and he's trying to get the car back to the pits. Well done for doing a lap on wet without breaking the car to Benjamin Till, but to go out on slicks is a crucial knock for him, and unfortunately will keep him out of the top 20 as he has to make his final stop now, change over to wet tires, and then keep going for the next 44 minutes. So this is a big come on. I mean, tough race out there. Reginald Mutelani is now in for a fight because he is currently the leader of the Pro-Ams, have completed their first stop and is now looking at the front going, come on guys, pit. I want to see you guys dive into the pits. I want to see this work. Jason Farmer, who's done all these pit stops, is in the top 15, and he is waiting for that little bit of a climb. He is waiting for the opportunity, as currently Henry Mayer, Daniel De Villiers, Christoph Peterson, Bego Krobler, Gerrit Bucas, Sean Herrera, Jeffrey LaRue, Jan Verveers, Keegan Bowen, and Hedy Porchita yet to go and do their first pit stop. And they are yet to go chasing their way in towards the top. I mean, this is a tough time for them. Are they going to be hoping that they have enough space as Porchita lays the pressure down on Keegan Bowen? Both drivers not wanting to give an inch here. Both drivers looking to maximize their points in the Pro-Am, as Keegan Bowen currently holds 4th in the running, but Henny Porchita is way down in that as he chases down to score points. He's in 19th. He has so far only gone and finished 3 rounds out of 6 thus far, and this is round 7 to score points as he wants it to make it work out in his favor. He wants to move forward and try and stand on the top. So each of the drivers focusing what they need to do. Keegan slides the rear out, not having an easy time. Henry Mayer leads out the pack 7.7 seconds ahead of Daniel De Villiers. Now, with that being said, let's take a look at what currently stands as how long each of the drivers is going to spend in the pits, and that's 23 seconds. So Henry Mayer needs 23 seconds to go out that little bit further. I mean, this is honestly one to consider during the race. Use 23 seconds to move through it all. Daniel De Villiers into pit lane as he lets Christoph Peterson come on by. He gets past Jonathan Christen. PWSR looking at a later pit stop now, as we do take a look back to Henny Porchita and Keegan Bowen constantly on the back of one another. Bagel Krobler here at Bukes gain a position, and Henny Porchita gets it all out of shape through the chicane and just narrowly saves the car. Jackie Alberts onto the back of Jonathan Christen. They did have Christoph Peterson come on by and continues on their drive. I mean, this is always a tough time out there. It's always a consideration for the drivers to really dig deep. And also, this is something that many of the teams are starting to consider. What needs to be done to score as many points in the championship? Last night we had the Le Mans Ultimate where, well, the championship got flipped on its head with variety of pit stops and incidents that happened. But we also have our ACC side that has now got the same thing, that can carry over the championship fight to the final round of this amazing series. The EG Evolve GT3 ACC Championship Season 23, powered by RaceFace, and still lots and lots of time that the drivers are going to be fighting their way through. We are getting reports, however, Darren saying, I take my hat off to Benjamin Till for that lap on slicks. The Lambo wants to kill you in the dry, even worse in the rain, and I have to agree on that one. Unfortunately, that is Darren Miller, who is a retired driver, going and putting out there. Darren, I know it hasn't been an easy race for you. I know that you've had a tough time out there, but if you would like to come and have a chat to us, you're more than welcome to. It'll be wonderful to have you in the box and get a bit of a sense of what is happening out there on the circuit, as a very wet Donington is difficult for, as a commentator who's sitting here in the box with heaters nice and warm, but also very different to the drivers out there. You've been participating all season and feeling it out. So if you do feel like having a bit of a chat, you're more than welcome to come through to the commentary box and give your opinion and also your thoughts on the race thus far during through it. So, I mean, this is always a tough time for the drivers, as we do have Benjamin Till. Mine's out of the way. And now giving Beggar Frobler that little bit of a run. Says, listen, but I'm not going to argue with you. You get on going. I want to try and focus on the tribe. Both are in Team Wolf colors. I presume they're in the same team. And are focusing on their main drive towards the top. So, always a race to consider. However, let's talk about big things happening. Henry Mayer is now 10.9 seconds ahead of Christoph Peterson. Does set the fastest lap time in the race with a 1:32.6. Very, very close to what he was doing in qualifying. However, this is going to be a crucial point. Who's going to pull the trigger first on that pit stop? Because if we go down to 7th position, there is Daniel De Villiers, who's done his first stop. He still remains in the top 10 and is still on the climb, as Jeffrey LaRue is just ahead of him. That is 6th place right there. That is fighting to try and keep the car together. And De Villiers knows what he needs to do here. So a gentle look at pitting that a little bit earlier than the top 3 has given him the option. Oh, Jeffrey LaRue dives out of the way. Oh my heavens, no. Oh no. Oh no. LaRue, no. He forgot where pit lane was. Jeffrey LaRue forgot where pit lane was. And that cost him time to Lexion for Fears. LaRue thought by taking the turn to the left, that is the short, and it's part of the short circuit. It's also part of the pit lane. It's the exit way for it on normal club racing days in real life. That is the main entry point for pit lane on club days, and it is just an escape road. LaRue thought, hold on, that's where I'm going to go. Dives in, sees that it's barriered off, and he realizes, hang on, I've got a problem here. I've got to go around the corner still. That compromised the time, and that is just, unfortunately, you start going into an autopilot mode. You start just trying to drive the car and focus on what you need to do. When something shifts, something changes in the race, you can be caught off guard. And that's exactly what happened. He got tunnel vision in with the rain, concentration right there, and unfortunately, not practicing getting into pit lane has cost him time. This is why, in practice, many of the drivers do focus on getting their setups right, getting those fast lap times. But there is drivers that start to think about practicing pit entry and exit repeatedly. They will drive through it over and over and over again. They will look absolutely insane for doing it. But that whole process is to ensure that they know exactly how to get in and out of pit lane. Unfortunately, what we saw there was exactly the problem. Going and losing out that little bit of time has unfortunately cost him out of the top 10. Rigel Mutilani currently in 9th place. Sees Henny Porjitas dived into the pits. This is yet another position. Puts him up into the top 3 of the Pro-Ams. He has got Henry Platt on the back of him, continuing to put in the charge, trying to figure out what is the game plan here. But I'm also keeping an eye on Jason Farmer as he lies in 14th position. He looks to try and get ahead of Henny Porjitas in the top 10. Still waiting to come out of the box. Jason Farmer outbrakes himself. That's cost him time and falls off the circuit. He rejoins, but allows the leader of second place Christoph Peterson to come on by, but it's cost him a little bit of time. And here comes Henny Porjita coming out of pit lane, Farmer into 13th. Not ideal circumstances for Jason Farmer. The Griffin Sim Racing team just watched that mirror a little bit too much. Went 5 meters, still a little bit too far in the braking zone, and that was that. Tiernas Buerta goes up on the inside of Henny Porjita. Is Henny trying to get himself going? Does take a look in his rearview mirror. He sees Jared McComb and that's Benjamin Till in the Lamborghini, making a little bit of a move to try get on by. Reginald Mutilani and Henry Platt swap out positions as Platt looks to pull on. Tiernas Buerta have contact. Oh, that is a problem. Tiernas Buerta, Conrad Martin, Benjamin Till, as it was contact. What on earth happened to the 722 car? Let's quickly go to our helicam. Tim in the helicam. So Tiernas Buerta is in the blue McLaren up ahead, and we've got the likes of the Singers. And all right, so Tiernas Buerta came off the circuit. He loses it. Just comes in front of Benjamin Till. Conrad Martin tries to slow down to avoid it. Gerrit Bukes narrowly missed that accident. And oh man, Conrad, who was just driving, suddenly there's a car parked in the way and unfortunately takes an impact. And oh man, it goes bad to worse for round in front of race. Another drive-through penalty. So he has stop go for speeding. Now it's a drive-through for going and abusing track limits, which is so easy to do in the wet conditions just by sliding. And it's the chicane that does it all the whole time. And unfortunately, that is going to further lay into the championship. This is a smile for some, but unfortunately for the others, it's not good. We lose out another set of drivers as well as Benjamin Till's going. Conrad Martin's going, but I do suspect we have lost out Tiernas Buerta. Yes, we have. We've lost Tiernas Buerta. That car was not able to get going under its own power anymore. Unfortunately, forced to retire the car. And that is going to be another big impact for Tiernas Buerta. Panassi driver just not having the drive he wants to really fight it out. And it's quite unfortunate as he's been in that very tough season. It just either it worked for him for some, but it's just majority of the time has been on the back foot. I mean, we take a look. He's had 2 DNFs during the course of the season, and now putting a third one in as well will really knock his confidence, and will join Darren Miller out there in the pits, just going and reflecting back at Donington, saying, all right, well, this wasn't quite our race to really make it happen, and let's maybe look towards round 8. Round for the race, doing his drive-through in the pit lane, will now wait to go back out. He's going to have to try and do damage limitation and try and get ahead of the rest of the Pro-Am field. There is no option for him to try and just give up at this point, because any further loss of points is further down the championship. Jason Farmer comes on by in 13th position. He's trying to make the run as we run from the race. We saw the entry coming into turn 1. And you do come out to the racing line. Oh, jingles, the car just not work out in his favor. The frustration underneath that helmet must be huge at this point. Always a drive to remember, and everyone hoping to gain that little bit more time. Back up towards our running order. 32 minutes left in this race as we see Jackie Alberts getting into pit lane. But it is our top 5 that are yet to do their final pit stops. And also, like Jan Fiers, down in 7th position, yet to do his first pit stop. So Henry Mayer, Christoph Peterson, Bego Krobler, Gerrit Bukes, Longman Sean Lerero, and Jan Fiers are yet to do their first round of pit stops. Daniel de Villiers holding the 6th place at the moment, has done his first stop, along with Henry Platt, who has done his first pit stop. He's running in 8th place, and one of the very last of the Omnius Gaming drivers out in ACC at current, and looking to just try keep into that top 10. Henry Platt also looking to try and maximize points for himself in the championship, as he has been keeping consistent with one non-starter in round 2, but he's been in the top 10 throughout. Well, only dropped out of it once this season in round 5, but a 10th, 9th, 10th, 11th, and a 7th are his running order points. I mean, this is always an interesting run. Reginald Muttolini gets a pass on Henry Platt, who gives a position, says, right, buddy, you focus on the drive now, pull me along. I want to try and get a little bit of time here. Maybe save a bit of fuel. Short fuel, really close at the end, and try and makes it fight his way through. Honestly, some good racing indeed. And I've got to point out, as much as Donington and the likes of Brands Hatch, a lot of the English circuits, many of the drivers don't like, I thoroughly enjoy it. And to actually put it on a list of what type of circuits I thoroughly enjoy, especially on ACC and iRacing and such, other those that they match 2 and 2, so I'm not going to include things like the Hill. But Donington is second in my most favorite circuits to be around, purely on its technical nature, especially when you start chucking a bit of adverse weather to it as well. But first is Brands Hatch. Last and least favorites is actually a circuit that most drivers thoroughly enjoy, and that is Silverstone. For a lot of drivers, that seems to be the pride and joy, but for others like myself, and like what we see out on circuit, they enjoy Donington, the way it works, the way it keeps together. It's like Alton Park, a really good circuit. That would be in my 3rd place. Silverstone down into 4th. And it does make things rather tricky for the drivers to really think about what they need to do to go for the wins here. How hard do they really need to dig deep to make it work? Jason Farmer, take his case at the moment. An earlier pit stop, he's now in 12th position and looking to get into that top 10. However, I think he's too far back. He's 2.6 seconds away from Anton Lammers, who's 6.3 seconds away from Jared Bakub, who sits into that top 10. It's 23 seconds to go in and out of the pit lane, and that unfortunately does lay into a bit of an impact of how the pit stops are working. So Jace Farmer, I think, made a bit of a crucial error early in the race to get his second stop out the way so early, but not looking for the top 3. He's looking to get into the top 10 and stay within a shout of the rest of the pro field. Henry Mayer leads out the field with a 132.5 as his best lap time. Last lap was a 133.1. Christoph Peterson with a 132.7 on his last lap. That's his personal best, and also way quicker than first and third at the moment. So he is really digging in to try and make his way through. He does, however, see the likes of Joe McCoop in that Ferrari just ahead of him. He does see Lucan Haynes, who is in the BMW for the Racing Snails, as these two are out of position to one another. But Christoph Peterson wants to make short work of the back markers, not to lose out the drive. Comes across the line again, last lap, 133.162, where Henry Mayer did a 133.4. So Henry Mayer is losing a bit of time out there. Henry Platt pulls into the pits, so does Anton Lammers. Jason Farmer up into that top 10. And this is now starting to get very, very interesting to see where the drivers come out. Henry Platt goes and gains position as well. Moves up into 12th place with Jeffrey LaRue to get past. He did, however, lose out to the likes of Jason Farmer, but is still keeping just ahead of those that have done their pit stops. Keegan Bone, Henry Porchita, and Conrad Martin needing to do their pit stops and get it out of the way. Unfortunately, in a world of hurts at the moment, and needing to figure out what is the game plan for them, as Conrad Martin decides not to go in the pit again. He is going to continue on the lap. 27 minutes to go in this race. 14 degrees. We've dropped a little bit of air temperature. That doesn't seem like a lot, but depending on the car as well, and due to the nature of the sims, to tell you how much that these sims have some work going into them. Likes of Assetto Corsa Competizione, air temperature does affect aero balance. In other words, how much pressure is put on the nose and on the rear of the car to keep it going and to keep you firmly stuck to the ground. But it also the air intake. That goes and figures how the engines respond to it. Now, a hotter day means it's worse for the engines. You'll have less power to work with. You will have more of a struggle to try and stay ahead of the field. However, a cooler day means that you have a little bit more power underneath you. This is where a lot of the thought process comes in of what you need to do to maximize your position, what you need to do to stay at the top of the field. How much can you dig deep to really fight it out during the course of this race? And honestly, that's where we start to see the times as it all cools down. But with the conditions becoming a bit of a problem, we are starting to see drivers tapering off in their race as well. As we see, Henny Porchita comes into pit lane, so he's getting his stop done and dusted, and will drop him out of the order. As Anton Lummers comes on by, we do see Ulrich Diaga. Hands up to Ulrich Diaga, still going out and really fighting. He is still trying to go that little bit more. Benjamin Till as well, another driver, got to respect, going out on cold slicks, was able to get it to the pit lane without any damage. They are fighting through it. Instead of throwing in the towel, respect to those drivers, they still continuing to push on. Now, Henry Mayer leads out the pro, Christoph Peterson in second, and Bego Krubler holds third. But we've also got the close fight going in the Pro-Am. Sean Loureiro is yet to do his first pit stop. He leads out the Pro-Am. So is Johan Verveers is yet to do his first pit stop. Reginald Mutaleni holds third place, and he is trying to make up that little bit of time. Jonathan Chrysler, unfortunately, off into the dirt yet again, and will lose out to Jackie Albert. And it looks like it's not over just as yet, as Jonathan Chrysler tries to get this Lamborghini going underfoot. No damage to the car, still able to push on that little bit more. I've got to say, well done to him. Conrad Martin, along with Keegan Bone. Now, interesting to talk about in the pit for the Treehouse Works racing team. Conrad Martin, Anton Lummers, both been racing LMU, been putting some effort there. But in terms of strategy, the two very different strategies. They are talking to one another. They do have a team talking to one another. Conrad Martin is yet to do his final pit stop. Anton Lummers has long since done it. He is now focusing on driving through to the end. So a bit of a mix with the likes of the Treehouse Works racing team, hoping that it's going to have that little bit of an off-kilter. Could have done something to make it work out in his favor. However, it was not to be. Sean Loureiro, Kurt Bucas, Bego Krobler now continuing on a drive, but Loureiro wants to see where the likes of Verveers is going to be in the pit stops. Where is he going to do? I mean, tough racing. Everyone pushing that little bit more, hoping to gain some time here, and crucial moments. I mean, this is always something to keep an eye out for, but Reginald Mutaleni needs to keep an eye on when he does his final pit stop. And let me give you the reasoning there. It's 23 seconds for the drivers to do a stop, splash and dash and back out. Reginald is 20 seconds ahead of Jared Bakum. That means he's 3 seconds adrift from holding his position. Jared Bakum is 3 seconds from gaining or losing that first place. Sean Loureiro pulls into pit lane. Daniel De Villiers takes up that top 5 point. Johan Verveers will be the next one through. But Reginald Mutaleni and Jared Bakum are going to be looking to either act or react on each other's pits and who's going to be able to climb. Sean Loureiro dives into the pits. Daniel De Villiers continues on. Johan Verveers continues on as well. Interesting take for Johan Verveers in 7th position and looking to try and move himself forward. I mean, this is always a very, very interesting time for the drivers and looking to see how it all moves forward. I mean, every single person out there is now looking at when they can react, when they can drive, how far are they going to go, where they need to push. Henny Porchita losing a bit of time. Did have a little bit of door-to-door contact up against Sean Loureiro, who's coming out of the pits. He has got Jackie Alberts for a bit of company out there. Now, this is interesting. Sean Loureiro is a faster car, so these two ahead of him are blue flag. But the rules state you don't have to jump out the way. You hold your racing line, you be predictable. It's up to the faster car to come through. In the case of a dice like this, now you've got a bit of a problem, as you got Jackie Alberts, who continues to put the pressure on, continues to fight, and which means that your usual lines that you want to overtake, like what Sean Herrera wants to do around the outside or the inside, suddenly that's gone. And he can't do anything about it because the fight is allowed. Jason Farmer has got the likes of Jared Bakuma ahead of him. Jared is going to be informing Begor Hrobler up the road, saying, hey, listen, bud, I've got your competitor right behind me, and we're fighting out for 9th position here. You've got to make a choice. Get into the pits or not get into the pits. You got to be quick. I'm going to try and hold my ground because I'm allowed to, but Jason Farmer has every right to fight it through. This is where teammates come in handy to act as that little bit of a buffer to try and fight, to cause a little bit of loss of time. Even though they're two different classes, it's overall positioning, and it does help out. Strategically, there's no loss for Jared Bakuma in the running of this if he defends that little bit harder. He does lose out to the likes of Jason Farmer, who loses out the traction. Side by side they go, heading into the final corner. They're in the pits. Oh no, what on earth there? As that was a complete moment for Jared Bakuma that threw Jason Farmer into the weeds. Hold the phone. Hold the phone. I know I was talking about strategic runs, but was that under braking that he lost the rear of the car? Let's take a look on Helicam. A little bit of contact between the two. Alright. So, Jason Farmer side by side. You do have your radar on your relative that tells you that they're there. He tries to close off the gap into the braking zone and catches Jason Farmer's nose. Ooh, tough time out there. Oh, big time. Big problems. Reginald Mutaleni off into the weeds, and he loses out the drive. On for Fears ahead. For Fears now 27 seconds up the road. He's still got 2 stops, which is going to play into Reginald Mutaleni's favor. However, Jared Bakuma is now 18 seconds behind and is right there for the picking to go for the attack. Jackie Alberts and Henny Porchita continue on their fight. They do have the leader of the Panacity team come on by. Henry Mayer dives for the inside. Jackie Alberts does avoid, gets onto the back of Henny Porchita. The racing sails fighting it with one another during the course of this race. Obviously, papaya rules are not in play here. Otherwise, there will be a multi-21 for them to swap around. This is an outright brawl, and the V8 of the Mustang wants to beat out the turbocharged V6 of the Ferrari. The asthma pump connected to the engine of the Ferrari is rather torquey through the corners, but has it got enough? Oh, not quite when you fall off a circuit like that. Unfortunately, loss of position as Henny Porchita loses out. Ulrich Diago gone farming, trying to rejoin the circuit safely, and well done to him. Waiting for the cars to come on by and rejoin safely out there before the chicane. Very, very well done. He gave up getting on the line quick and preferred to let the cars go he was a blue flag, but also give them the racing line that it makes it easier into the corner and doesn't cause them to get those off track. So very, very clever move, very well done. And as a driver that's continuing to see it through to the end, that's one way to make it work. Henny Porchita trying to close up to the teammate Jackie Alberts. Now we're into the last 18 minutes of the race, and this is a crucial moment for Henry Mayer, Christoph Peterson, Begor Hrobler, Gerrit Bucas. They need to figure out when they're going to do their stops. They got 2 pit stops, 18 minutes. Each pit stop is 23 seconds. By the end of it, that's 46 seconds of loss of time if they double stack it. That excludes them running out. Oh, never mind. Begor Hrobler gets it completely wrong and looks like he may have clipped the wall. And car not working out in his favor. The 15, not going to be happy on that one. Let's quickly take a look at what happened. Oh, no, hang on. It got a little bit worse than that. He was tucked up behind the likes of the Kramandulis racing machine. Look to the inside. He does see him get out of shape. Closes up the gap. LaRue was slow, and unfortunately that landed up creating concertina effect. We haven't found a race. Backed off to not have contact. Unfortunately, Begor Hrobler was a bit too close. Climbed on the anchors, and that was the impact. And would have hurt him on the nose, and also brought him a lot closer into the clutches of Gerrit Bucas at the moment for the Singers team. Now this is going to be an interesting call. Begor Krobler, after gaining so much time, had that accident, plus fell off the circuit, has brought Karabukas from nearly 10 seconds back into a 2.1 second gap. I mean, this is always a very, very crucial time in the race that mistakes can't happen. There has to be focusing on the charge. And likes of Jan Verveers take this as a point. The Trail Bullets team sees his teammates sitting in the pits and now thinking back, hold on, I've got to try and figure out when am I going to be able to get my pit stops done to not lose out to Rachel Mutaleni, who's 28 seconds behind me. Henry Mayer, once again, fast lap time in the race, 132.487, and is smiling ear to ear on that one, looking to try and push himself that little bit further in through the race, that little bit more towards the sharp end of the field, and always a tough time, as they will be focusing on the drive, always thinking, what is the game plan here? How much do they need to really climb up through the order? How much have they got enough in the bag to stay in for the fight? Drivers hoping to really focus on the drive and really look to make it work. Begor Krobler into the pits. Kurt Bukes will go and gain third place. And Begor Krobler looks at the back and sees Daniel de Villiers come on by. The PWSL machine with an early pit stop, now climbing a little bit further into that top four. Remember, top three for him is just what he needs to carry the points into the final round of the championship against Fleming Bauer. Due to technical difficulties, may have just cost himself third place in the championship. If Daniel de Villiers is able to get into the top three here tonight, and another top three with Fleming Bauer, or even Fleming Bauer finishing behind him in the next round, he takes third. He will smile ear to ear with an Nissan GTR. Oh man, a major sideways moment for him on the way through in the right-hander. Was able to hold it that little bit more, gain some drive, or into the dirt. Never mind, not working out in his favor this time around. We'll have to try and refocus on this. Every step of the way, it is all about the drive. It's all about who can take the moment. 42 laps in for our front runners, and it is still a very, very long time till the finish line. 14 minutes and 12 seconds on a cold circuit, 10 past 7 sim time, and here in South Africa, it is 35 minutes past 9, which is roughly the same as what in Germany, like Sir Christoph Peterson is feeling. The German Mafia driver hopes to make it work. Karabukas still yet to go and make his way through. Daniel de Villiers is holding that fourth place, will have the opportunity to gain third place, and does so as Karabukas pulls into the pits. He's going for his first stop, and Daniel de Villiers ticking off the list there, focusing on his drive. Begor Krobler wanting to also do the same now after that little bit of a whoopsie-daisy moment of falling off the circuit, plus the contact as he does get ahead of Karabukas, who holds out that top five. Johan Verveers will try and make his way through, yet to go into the pit lane to get his final stop. He has got a good sizable gap to Rachel Mutaleni, 29.5 seconds. Enough for the first stop to be have no pressure, but the second stop is where the pressure is going to be. Conrad Martin yet to do his final stop of the race. LaRue needing to do his final stop of the race. Jared Koom, Rachel Mutaleni, Karabukas, Begor Krobler, Daniel de Villiers. But those that are still needing to do their first stop, for Fears, Mayer, and Peterson, are now still continuing on their charge. They're thinking of what do they need to do. Henry Platt trying to gain another position, and sees the likes of Jeffrey LaRue ahead of him. Jeffrey LaRue still needing to do his last stop. Henry Platt has completed his last stop. But we are getting reports that there was a bit of contact for the 12 and the 337 car. Let's quickly go take a look at it. This is the likes of Round Front of Race trying to keep it all together. Jason Farmer trying to look around the outside, swap towards the inside, looking to try and get the pass on the championship leader of the Pro-Ams. Ooh, Front of Race gets it out of shape under braking, and that landed up with running the race and Jason Farmer sharing a bit of pain. Keegan Bowen landing up in the dirt. It looks like Lucan Haynes as well lands up in the dirt. That is a big smile on the face for Conrad Martin, who now looks to try and leg it open a bit as he needs to do his final stop. And he is going to lose out to Keegan Bowen, but a little bit less so to Jackie Alberton and Henny Pochita for his stop. Jan Fierce pulls into pit lane, and let's see where Reginald Muteleni is to try and capitalize here. Reginald needing to go through 2 more corners. I don't think he has enough to get past Jan Fierce, but will be in close proximity when Fierce comes out of the pits. This is now Reginald Muteleni's time to make it work, as we do see Fierce rolling in pit lane. Reginald Muteleni puts the hammer down. Is this going to work out in his favor? He drives as hard as possible. He does get first place. Muteleni is in the lead. Muteleni is in the lead. Fierce, Jared McComb, all needing their final stop now. And this is turned the Pro-Am field on its head. Who is first to pull the trigger between our top 3 of the Pro-Ams? LaRue fights it against Platt at the moment. Luke Hadane's a little bit further back, is just watching in battle, but he will get the blue flag for Jason Farmer, who keeps the pressure on. He wants to try, go after Henry Platt and LaRue, as Platt, a little bit late to break against turn 1, has cost him. Lucan comes on by, not a loss of position there. He's going to have to focus back onto the mirrors, as here comes Jason Farmer, swings it around the outside. The Ferrari trying to get the drive of the Mustang, looks towards the inside, over the curb they go, and Henry Platt snaps with that rear, holds on for dear life. He goes off circuit. Henry Platt off into the dirt, loses out to Jason Farmer. He's able to keep it all together, but where is he going to come ahead of Sean Lerero? He does 10 seconds as Lerero now stares up and looks towards Shop in the field. He is the first of those in Pro-Am that have completed all their pit stops. Henry Platt loses out to Farmer. Farmer's first of those that have completed all their pit stops. But here comes the question. Christoph Peterson. No. Say it's not so. And that's from a song. But folks, we got a misser. We got a missing car. We have got a missing car. Henry Mayer is gone out of this race. Henry Mayer is out of the race. Something has happened to him. Henry Mayer is out of the race. This is a shocking turn of events. Now, Christoph Peterson needs to capitalize on this moment. He needs to focus on it, because right now, if he gets first place, he's carrying a chance for the championship, because it's 50 points for getting first place. 50 points that is needed. And looking at the standings, Henry Mayer will have a DNF. He would have not finished this race in the final 10 minutes. And with 248 plus 50, Bada Mathia will give Christoph Peterson 4 points to get ahead of Henry Mayer. 4 points to get ahead. Now, if Henry Mayer does lock back in and he's able to finish the race, he will carry some points into it. But Christoph Peterson, if he gets a win in round 8, he's taken the victory of the championship. This has now turned the entire championship on its head, because Christoph Peterson and Daniel De Villiers have an opportunity to fight for first and Daniel De Villiers into third. This is exactly what they needed to work out in their favor. Donington has played to their advantage. Henry Mayer does get back in. He's in pit lane. Conrad Martin is in pit lane getting himself sorted. So Henry Mayer is back into the pits. He is now trying to get himself going. He's currently a little bit down the order. So with the likes of Christoph Peterson sitting on 298 points, if Henry Mayer finishes, he's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. He's going to get 8th for his 200. I'm just trying to work this out on the fly, folks, to give you a bit of an idea of what's happening. It's going to be at 8th, and the 8th in terms of scoring is 25 points, which will give him 319. So he will carry the lead into the final race, but not by much. Henry Mayer has had his championship thrown into devastation, and to make it even worse, Henry Mayer has still got 2 stops that he needs to serve in the last 7 minutes. Henry Mayer is in for a world of hurt here. Thankfully, there is no other pros behind him, but he will keep some championship hopes alive for this race, but that disconnect has just hurt him badly in this race. Wow, oh wow. So, Christoph Peterson dives into pit lane. No pressure on his part, other than a first place is needed. He has to get first to take round 8, our final heat, our final round of the season. A chance for the championship. De Villiers needs second or above to keep ahead of Fleming Bauer heading into the final race of the season. And that's going to be happening next week. So this is all turned into a lightning round race for our drivers in the Pro and for the Pro-Am, as Reginald Muttolini is in the pits. Reginald Muttolini is in pit lane. Jared Coombe going to go by. Reginald pulled the trigger for the Pro-Am. He exits. Has he got enough to get ahead of Jeffrey LaRue? No, he does not. And we'll see likes of Jason Farmer come on by. So it is going to be for Fears, Jared, and then Reginald Muttolini holding our top 3. Reginald has completed all his stops. He needs to close the gap to likes of Jared Becum and Johan Verveers. He has to get past Jason Farmer first and Jeffrey LaRue. Bego Krobler dives into pit lane, and so does Henry Mayer to get into the pits. Bucas dives into pit lane, and Christoph Peterson still with one more stop underneath his belt, needing to make it work. De Villiers, 16 seconds back, will get the jump if he doesn't pull into the pits. With 5 minutes and 24 seconds to go, I do expect the pit stop to happen within the next 2 laps. Otherwise, it's going to compromise him. Krobler, Bucas, they are both to pit lane getting themselves sorted. Krobler wants to take third. He wants to take it away from the Stingers, who looks to try get himself back on the podium. For Fears, Jared Becum looking to hold the top spot of the Pro-Am. Reginald Muttolini having an option here to carry the championship forward into the final round. But this has now devolved the whole run into a bit of a shocking feat for every single one of the drivers. Jason Farmer all over the back of Jeffrey LaRue in for the final races. Now LaRue going on the defense, has to try and hold that inside line. Jason Farmer try to go around the outside. He slips back on the inside, gets back on the gas as LaRue dives into pit lane to complete his stop. And this has tied into the works for Reginald Muttolini, as he doesn't have to fight for that position. He can utilize the toe a little bit further. LaRue drops into 10th position and is looking to go even further down. Sean Lerrero going to be looking at possibly a net second place at the moment, because the others need to do their final pit stops, as we got Christoph Pearson, Daniel De Villiers, Henry Mayer, Lawrence of Verveers, and Jared Becum, the only drivers yet that are rolling to get their final stops out here. Ulrich Diaga trying to close up the gap to Henry Mayer, who gets the pass, and that is Henry Mayer up into 21st position, a long way off likes of LaRue, which is crucial for points right now. So Mayer is fighting for his life in the championship, dives into pit lane to serve his final stop, and good on him on that one. He could take the penalty, but instead does it by the book. Get into pit lane, serve your stop, get back out there. Don't worry about a penalty of not serving a pit stop. You don't want to fall any further in the points as you are right now, because this is for major points. This is the championship riding high. Rian van der Race, who was leading out not so long ago and has had a nightmare time in this race. Been through pit lane 4 times. The stop go 30, a drive through, plus both major pit stops, is now trying to fight out with Lucan Haynes to just grasp any points possible to try and see if he can fight out that little bit further. Jared Becum now into pit lane, and Reginald Muttolini says thank you, takes another set of positions there, and this is going to be keeping it going. Rian van der Race needs to get ahead of Lucan Haynes. He needs to close that distance and gain as many points as possible to at least keep his championship hopes alive a little bit further. Christoph Peterson and Daniel De Villiers into the pits. 2 minutes and 36 seconds remain of this race, and there is still points on the line. Oh, Lucan getting very out of shape. Does land up crossing the nose of likes of Rian van der Race. Thankfully, no contact, but it is a position for Rian van der Race, and still enough to really keep the momentum going. This is turning into a big run. Reginald Muttolini right now needs an overall win for the Pro-Ams to continue to go into round 8, the final round of the championship, to stand above and have a chance to take victory in the Pro-Am. His first ever Pro-Am championship win is staring right in the face. Ram van der Race as well, looking at it, just gnawing at the bit, wanting to make it work. Jan Veers into pit lane. Jason Farmer will get the report of, hey, listen, Jan's in the pits, means you're going to gain a position here. But no one is going to be more happy about that than Reginald Muteleni, who needs to push a bit harder. Ram van der Race having a little bit of a blow against Lucan Hags, who outbreaks himself, has Henry Platt going past. And Henry Platt now just focusing, chipping away at the moment. Henry Platt sits currently in 7th position as he will get the pass on. And a stop-go 32nd. Fall for Fears off the pit limiter too early. And that has cost him time. And that it may have just cost him 2nd place. This is going to be a proper run. And take a look over to our virtual grandstands. We got Salvatore Cardi, who comes from our iRacing side, saying, how's it? Keeping an eye. Oh, Jan van Veers gets it wrong, and it catches the wall. Darn. Stop go 32nd, plus catching the wall, and loses out to Sean Lerero. A top 3 gone and dusted out there. And what a devastating run for the van Veers. From a podium last night for the family, unfortunately, comes to a Thursday, and it's just heartache of note. Now, I know that his dad will be keeping an eye, saying, listen, not quite how we want to go, but keep your head up. Jared Bakum and Anton Lammers are fighting out. Lammers gets a little out of shape, under braking, trying to catch up to Jared Bakum, who's just ahead. And Jared is also fighting in the points there. But with 6 seconds to go, Christoph Peterson is on the charge. He's trying to make it work. It has been a fight all through the season, but tonight will be the night that Christoph Peterson can sit with a smile. The ERA Grand Champion looking to go and take the victory here tonight will carry the Pro Championship into the final round next week and keep his hopes alive. Christoph Peterson of Logistical Nightmare Racing takes the win here at Donington, and championship hopes into round 8. Daniel de Villiers has officially climbed up into 3rd place ahead of Fleming Bauer and keeps his fight for the championship in the mix. Pego Krobler will lock into 3rd place after getting clipped by a hypercar at Monza by just not having it working out with the Delta Negative team. The Team Wolf will get 3rd place. He will be smiling. He kept just ahead of Gerrit Bucas. Jason Farmer will clinch on to a top 5. He's going to be smiling on that one. What a run for him during the course of it, and really fought his way through. Rachel Muteleni will now come across the line, taking not only the win in the Pro-Am, but also go and fight for the championship in round 8. The Pro-Am and Pro Championship is not settled here at Donington Park. It will be settled next week. And we have got a brawl, folks. We have got a mission. We have got a race. And we have got the championships. The EG Evolve GT3 Championship promised that highs and lows, dramas, thrills, and spills are going to happen. And we're going to see the smiles. Reginald Muteleni will take lead of the championship. He finishes ahead of Henry Platt. Sean Lerero will come across the line, taking 2nd place. The Fears, unfortunately, will fall down. He does go in for that stop-go 32nd at the end of the race. However, locks into 3rd place, but just takes him out. He will hold on to that 9th position. And as we get the confirmed results there, holds on to the podium and will keep some momentum, but that was a crushing blow for it all to go wrong. Taking a look though, we got 10% at EGR Simrigs, and you can win big too. Utilize that Spring 10 code and maximize your chance to start off on the high for your sim racing. For new and for experienced sim racers, EG has got you covered with that spring sale, and that is 10% off for the EGR sim rigs, but ends 30th of September. Next week will be the end, and you don't want to miss out on this grand opportunity to win big. But man, oh man, folks, what a race and what a time. And I can't even talk about how much this has gone and turned the championships. And I use championships in a very hard term there because it has turned it all onto its head and given multiple drivers the opportunity to stand above all, to fight that little bit more in for the top, and honestly, to move forward. So we're waiting for our drivers to come through, our Pro-Am, as we are getting a couple of drivers coming through to have a chat with us. Beggar Krobler is third in our pros. Daniel De Villiers takes second of our pros, and Christoph Peterson takes the top spot. Reginald Montaleni will take the top spot of the Pro-Ams. He'll be followed by the likes of Sean Herrero and Johan Verveer. So we're just going to give them a little bit of time to get themselves to the box, and we'll start bringing in the drivers, come and have a chat to us as well here tonight. And honestly, what a stunning drive. So it looks like we've got a couple of the drivers, not everyone here. Let's bring in our Pro-Am winner, Reginald Montaleni, to come and have a chat to us before we move on to our pros. Reginald Montaleni, welcome to the commentary box. And my friend, you keeping those championships hope alive. How was the race out there? You took an early gamble and it paid off.
Yo, Stephen. Look, it was quite rough. The stretch is quite a lonely one, to be honest with you. That gamble that I took, it's a very lonely one. Luckily, I had Platt, who somehow, I don't know what happened, but he actually kind of like spun out in front some way, and that kind of kept me going, just following him around. But oh my word, that was intense. Like, it is the scariest thing ever, because I know I've made so many mistakes during practice. You know me, Stephen. I don't really have the time to put in the miles behind the wheel, but I was so afraid of all the little mistakes I was making, man. But thank you. Yeah, it was rough. That was definitely rough.
And to see that you got first place, knowing that you're now leading the Pro-Am Championship, seeing Rian van der Race having a nightmare of a race, do you feel that this is your time to gain your very first get a podium in Pro-Am, to go and take the win for the overall championship? Are you feeling more confident now that you've got a little bit of points ahead of likes of Rian van der Race?
To be honest with you, I'm still a little bit skeptical. Because, I'm not sure which track is the next one. It felt like the last three tracks are kind of like against the McLaren, but also I think he's also using a McLaren, so it's a bit of a battle of the skills here. But it feels like so real. Championship is still alive. I came into the race thinking, oh yeah, so much water spray, but I think we're gonna give it all our best. Hey, we are definitely gonna grind and actually give it our best for this last race. So you know what? I'm hoping for the best for everybody, because it could still change. Third place is not so far away also, so he can still take it. The points are a little bit close, but definitely it still feels quite exciting, to be honest with you.
Well, the Noob Nation is going to be on your back, cheering you on as you head towards next week, round 8 at Monza. But before I let you go, Reginald, anything you'd like to say to all our sponsors here at RaceFace.Pro, to all the drivers and teams that have been fighting out, that had to endure some difficult conditions, and also to our fans that are soaked beyond belief, and you can see them on the sidelines, but cheered nevertheless and been with us from the start of the season?
To be honest, I'm sure today, because it was a rainy race and it's such a tricky track with a lot of risky overtakes, I'm sure everybody, including our sponsors and the guys who are supporting on grandstands, I'm sure they were edge of their seats with the popcorns there and a little bit of a drink, just keeping their eyes glued onto the screen. It's been quite exciting, and we thank all of you guys for the awesome support throughout the whole entire championship. You guys are just super amazing. That is including the sponsors and the supporters on the grandstands. And yes, obviously the RaceFace team that are, they're out there in the background. They're like the IT guys chilling in the background, making things work. You know what? We do see you. It's not like we don't see you, but we do see you guys, all the admins. So you guys have been amazing. But yeah, thanks for the opportunity from everybody.
Absolutely wonderful stuff. Reginald Mutilani taking Pro-Am victory here tonight and now leads the Pro-Am Championship into the final round. Let's bring in our pros to come and have a chat to us. Starting off with third place, the Team Wolf driver himself, Bego Grobler, coming and having a chat to us here in the up in the commentary box. Bego, from last night where a hypercar killed you to the frustration of trying to outdrive the competition to a third place here tonight around Donington in the wet, vastly different to Monza in the dry, in a completely different car. How are you feeling?
How's it, Stephen? Yeah, good. Tired, but good. Takes a lot of concentration, 80-minute race like that in the wet, but it was fun. And yeah, like you say, bit of a turnaround from last night, so that's good.
Out there, we saw you battling with the traffic and also battling with competitors. How difficult was it to get past cars? Because it looked like you just had to wait for someone to make a mistake before you can move forward. And from a team perspective, how much communication were you having? Because we saw Benjamin Till, he's in the Team Wolf colours, landing up going out on slicks. Was there a little bit of concern in the pit as well of, hey guys, please don't put slicks on my car?
I'll be honest, that's the first we're hearing of that. So Ben is in the Wolf colours, but he's not with us in Discord when we race. So we didn't know that. So that's what happened to him. We were wondering. But yeah, myself and Jared were communicating throughout. Really just trying to see people he's racing on the relative and vice versa, trying to just help each other with lap times and stuff to keep each other informed. But yeah, other than that, it was from a team perspective fairly uneventful, but yeah, so difficult. I think racing for position probably was a bit easier than having to pass blue flag cars, because the blue flag guys, they were treating it almost like a dry race in that they weren't yielding, and well, here and there was a few that did, but they were relying on the faster cars to make the pass. But with the visibility, as soon as you get within half a second and you're running cockpit view, you cannot see anything. So passing blue flag cars 90% of the time felt like you were taking your life into your own hands.
Well, it was still a stellar effort to see you out there and really putting on a show. Anything you want to say to all the RaceFace admins, to the sponsors that have been cheering on from the sidelines, and also, most importantly, the drivers, the teams, and the race fans out there in the virtual grandstands getting soaked, as I'm sure you saw them with a little bit of a heavy heart saying, sorry guys, we're trying to make this race as fast as we can and to get you back into your warm homes.
Yeah, believe me, I think we on the track wanted it over just as quickly as those getting wet in the stands did. But yeah, no, the season's almost done. So to the admins and to you guys, the broadcasters, everybody, a huge thank you for what's so far been a great season and one round to go. So let's keep it up and make it special. And then yeah, just to all the guys that show up week after week to race. I think tonight we had a few less guys, which was always going to be the case, I think, on a wet Donington. But next week, Monza, so hope to see big grid again, and yeah, make it a really good finale. And then to all the sponsors, thank you for what's, like I said, so far been a great season. And yeah, I hope we can put on a good show at the last race, and then hope to have you guys back with us next season.
Absolutely incredible stuff. Bego Grobler taking third place for the Team Wolf in the pros, and also scoring big in his championship. Let's bring in second place, a car that everyone tends to have a bit of an odd look at. And this is the PWSR team that decided, well, we're going to take a Lamborghini for some. And Daniel De Villiers decided, now I'm going to take Godzilla, taking second place in the pros. Daniel, how are you feeling? You took the gamble of an early pit stop. You looked to aim for third, but walking home with a second and officially third in the championship points, carrying a chance to get third next week for the championship. How are you feeling after that? I think we might have lost Daniel de Villiers. I think he's a little bit lost of words right there. And, well, unfortunately, he looks to be out of the running there. Daniel, can you hear us? No, looks like we haven't got Daniel de Villiers. Some technical difficulties on his part. Still, congratulations to the PWSR team. We had Thriller Miller going in, cheering on in the grandstands after retiring the car, and likes of de Villiers going and saying, well done, keeping the chair. We're going to give him one more chance to see if we can get him going on the mic. Daniel, can you hear us?
Let's try again.
There we go. Now we can hear you.
Hi, Steven. Hi, everyone. Yeah, I'm pretty much disappointed. I ran a half-tank fuel strat, and it cost me quite a few seconds refueling, and I think that's the time I lost towards Christoph there at the end. But yeah, well done to him for keeping it cool and calm and, taking that first place. And yeah, very unfortunate for Henry for the disconnect there, but...
Well, you say unfortunate, but that gave you just enough to get ahead of his teammate and give a fighting chance for third in the championship next week. Daniel, I mean, the race out, you out the gate were all over the back of Henry Mayer for quite some time until landed up in the dirt. How was it out there following so close for so long in the spray?
It was very frustrating to stay behind a car just splashing with water when you know you are lighter and a bit faster. But yeah, no, kudos to Henry for keeping it cool and, rubbing and everything against me in the last corner, I'll never forget that. But yeah, it was fun, and then, yeah, on to the next.
Well, absolutely great stuff. Daniel, before I let you go to enjoy the celebrations of the PWSR team, once again, a very, very well-deserved run in a car that everyone scoffs at, the Nissan GTR, is proving to be quite a strong car season after season with the BOP. But anything you want to say to all the sponsors, the admins, the teams and drivers that were out on the circuit, but most importantly, the race fans that were cheering you on. Even your own teammate, after having a nightmare of a race, immediately got to pit wall and started shouting that we could hear him in the commentary box.
Yeah, no, very unfortunate for Darren. That Lambo is not as good as it was at the time. But yeah, Darren will be back faster and stronger, I know, and I'm very positive about it. And yeah, for all the fans there, Keegan Sanderson, I see you in the chats. Yeah, thanks for the support, and Ellen, thank you for the support and the opportunity still. And just, yeah, I want to dedicate this P2 for Henry Platt for giving me setup tips just before the race. It actually helped me a lot. So thank you, Henry. This P2 is for you.
There we go. And I'm sure Henry's going to have a bit of a chat with the sponsors saying, hey, listen, you're feeding the competition here. Why are you doing that? But seriously, well done, Daniel, on a stellar drive, taking second place in the pros here at very wet Donington. Daniel de Villiers walking away. But first place is where we're going to be looking because, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, let's have a chat to a driver that has taken international championships, been on the top of the game there, came into this round fighting to try carry championship hopes into round 8, pulls off the win, Christoph Peterson. Christoph, welcome to the commentary box. And my heavens, the race looked like you were on your back foot for majority of it. You tried interesting ways on your pit stops, and then all of a sudden, Lady Luck favored you. What's running through the head?
Yeah, I mean, I got lucky. Was a bit less deserved of a win than last week. Last week I got my first ever win in this league, actually, at the Nürburgring. I was really happy about that one. And yeah, I wasn't too happy with the car. It didn't really work in the faster corners. I think there was a little bit too much rain. My tires were also quite cold in the cold temps we had. So I was more of an underdog, I guess. And yeah, I guess now I profited, and the strategy also worked to get ahead of Daniel.
Well, it's, you might say it less deserved, but it's still a major deserve, I would say, to fight your way through an hour and 20 minutes of racing. I mean, the amount of concentration needed to continue on here, what was going through your head and the communication with the team, considering Donington is a difficult circuit alone, but also to include the wets? I mean, this is something you've experienced not only here at RaceFace.Pro, but in ERA, similar conditions.
Yeah, the circuit is absolutely deadly in the wet. If anyone pushes you onto the curbs, you have a really, really high chance of spinning or, yeah, just getting random snaps everywhere. So it was, especially if you're following someone, like all the blue flags and stuff, you need a lot of focus to get through there, especially through that midsection where you go downhill and then uphill again. Sometimes like half blind corners with all the spray. That was really hard. But yeah, most of the blue flags handled it well. Sometimes it was a bit uncomfortable when you have to get by mid corner and there's not a lot of space and your car is kind of understeering. But I guess we're in the pro class. We have to deal with that. So yeah.
Well, with that being said, the final race happening next week, you carrying 298 points, Henry going and carrying 316 just by rejoining. Are you feeling confident to take the first ever EG Evolved GT3 Championship powered by RaceFace and to take the trophy home back across the pond and away from the South Africans?
I mean, I would hope so, but I'm definitely the underdog in this. The conditions in the first 4 races didn't really play into my favor. Like, it was a bit too warm on many tracks. I think at Paul Ricard, maybe Misano, definitely Valencia, I would have had more of a chance with a bit lower temperatures. I think Nürburgring and Zandvoort have shown that. But yeah, Monza is my weakest track in the game. So I don't think I have much of a chance. I know how strong Henry is there. I've seen him compete with Philip Menard there in another league earlier this year. So yeah, I think I have an outside chance if something happens to him, but if he executes that race normally, then I guess the championship is going to him. I'm not hoping for much.
Well, I would still remain positive. We've seen you pull a rabbit out of the hat before, and we're looking forward to seeing you pulling a rabbit out of the hat next week. But before I let you go to enjoy the celebrations and taking the win here at Donington and also get away from the wet weather, anything you want to say to all the drivers and teams that were out on the circuit with you, to all the sponsors and admins in the background, but also, most importantly, I think you and I both agree on this, to the petrol heads that tune in, that come to the tracks and cheer on day after day, wherever they are in the world, for whatever championship is happening, and to be supporting here tonight for the RaceFace.Pro ACC GT3 Championship for the first time, sponsored by EG Evolved Simulator Rigs.
Yeah, thanks to everyone watching, thanks to everyone involved, and thanks to EG Evolved for sponsoring this. It's been a nice season. I'm glad to be back, and I'm enjoying it. I hope everyone else is too.
I'm sure it's going to be smiles for the Fear the Bones and Logistical Nightmare Racing. Well done, Christoph Peterson, for getting the victory here at Donington. Honestly, some great racing indeed, folks, and some stellar runs. And now the championship comes down to the final round. Monza next week will be main to get it done or dusted, fighting their way through. But I've got to point out we have 2 Noddy badges to hand out to drivers, and these are virtual Noddy badges that go out to 2 drivers, and I think you and I can both agree on this. One goes to Jeffrey LaRue that forgot where pit lane was and landed up taking the escape road, and the second goes to Benjamin Till for having slicks on his car in the rain. Whoops, that's a bit of a blunder on both parts. And honestly, congratulations to all the drivers taking on tonight. But ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, that is it for the week here at RaceFace.Pro. Massive shout out to our sponsors, SBR, Rhino Utility, Simulator Caves, Virtual Motorheads, along with EG Evolved, our title sponsor for our ACC racing. And we're looking forward to some incredible racing heading into next week. We're going to be kicking off on the Tuesday with our multi-class prototype racing on iRacing. LMP2 and GTPs hit the circuit on a Tuesday. Wednesday will be the final round of our LMU Championship Season 2. Don't miss out on that incredible run. Close racing in the GT2s, or the GT3s, and our hypercars putting on a great show nonetheless. And on the Thursday is going to be our final heat, our final round for our ACC Championship. Also happening next week on the 4th of October, we're going to be kicking off with our mid-rank 570 third round of our Endurance Championship, 9.5 hours around Kailami, and who can fight their way to the top? Which team is going to stand tall and call themselves the champion of the mid-rank 570? Don't miss out next week because it is a trailblazer. Championships won and lost. Highs, lows, thrills, spills, endurance sprints. We got it all for you here at RaceFace. Make sure you hit the subscribe button, hit that bell notification icon. If you want to join us out on the grid, head over to SimGrid and sign up here at RaceFace.Pro. Massive shout out to all our sponsors. Go and take a look at the incredible savings you can have at Simulator Cave and EG Evolved, along with all the great videos coming in from Virtual Motorheads. Some great alternative power from Rhino Utility. They've got some great specials happening on right now that you can get working in your favor and keep the lights on as we head into the spring and summer here in South Africa. But ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, from the entire RaceFace team, we'd like to say thank you very much for joining us. Thank you for joining myself here in the box, and from myself, Stephen Koenig, along with Jim, our flag marshal, Tim on the cameras, and the entire THT Productions team. We'll see you next time. We'll see you next week. And ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, have a brilliant one. Those who are racing on iRacing, enjoy the Bathurst 1000 happening this weekend. I'll see you 2 a.m. on Sunday, and I'll see you on the mic on Saturday for the iRacing side. But, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, so you could say it with me, because this second last time for the ACC Championship, you are going to hear it. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Good afternoon, good evening, and good night, everybody.